In this video, we're not going to discuss what Donald Trump might or might not do were he to become president of the United States. No, we're going to discuss what a not insignificant portion, a plurality of Trump supporters believe that he would do, and they're supporting him anyway. Trump supporters, do you realize that these monsters, there's no other way to describe them, neo-Nazis really are in your midst in this great a number? My gal Susan Wright at Red State this morning brings to our attention a Survey Monkey poll of 1,051 registered voters, which is revealing the divide between loyal Trump supporters and the rest of us. The poll was done on behalf of the Lincoln Leadership Initiative, a group of Republican leaders with whom I would be proud to stand, who stand against Donald Trump as nominee, much less President of the United States. They have advocated for the GOP to dump Trump and take the party back to its foundational values. Now, the findings are interesting, if not completely disturbing. A majority of voters say Donald Trump, this is the overall, everybody, all the respondents. A majority of voters say Donald Trump would allow the United States to default on its debt, thus collapsing the global economy, to say nothing of the U.S. economy and the federal government, and that he would misuse the power of the presidency to punish his political opponents. I think that's pretty likely. And nearly half, look at what Reince Priebus said earlier this week, that if Jeb Bush, if Jeb Bush and Ted Cruz and John Kasich didn't hop aboard the, wait for it, Trump train!
Come on! Nice and easy! Don't look down! That's it! You're doing fine!
That he would see to it that they wouldn't be allowed to run for the 2020 GOP presidential nomination. How he could prevent them legally from doing so, I have no idea. And I tend to think that Reince Priebus isn't going to be head of the Republican National Committee that far out. He really shouldn't be after his capitulation to Donald Trump, but that's just an example of it, punishing his political opponents. And nearly half of voters, 46%, say Trump would use a nuclear weapon to attack ISIS or another foreign enemy. And attacking ISIS would be attacking a foreign enemy like Syria, or if it landed on Iraqi territory, a nominal ally, at least theoretically, which would, of course, bring us into a nuclear confrontation with the Russians, which I think we can all agree it would not be a good idea, and to say nothing of what it would do to the perception of the United States around the world. And to our own self-perception. Rejecting first use of nuclear weapons has been U.S. policy since the beginning of the Cold War. We don't go nuclear first. And to use nukes on terrorists? How counterintuitive is that? And it wouldn't work, and it's exactly what the jihadists would want. The Iranians would want it. Why do you think they're getting nuclear weapons? Now, you defeat ISIS by putting boots on the ground and keeping them there for as long as it takes. And that's why we'll never win the war on terror, because the American people don't have the patience to do that. They don't have the patience for what it takes to be a successful colonialist. It's that simple. That we can't defeat ISIS is the bottom line, when you really understand the situation in its entirety. The poll also found that a majority of voters believe that as president, Trump would create a database to track Muslims and order military strikes against the families of terrorists. Now, ordering military strikes against the families of terrorists is just counter. That's the new definition, or would be the new definition of counterterrorism. It would be no different than what the terrorists, what the jihadists are trying to do to us. It would be pointless. I mean, you talk about giving them recruitment incentives. Well, that'd do it. And it wouldn't, at the very least, it would be irrelevant to what the jihadists are doing to us, because they're already a death cult. So do you really think that they would care if their families are killed? I mean, they're all in it. Islam is a death cult in its entirety. That's why this business of Trump would create a database to track Muslims. I have no doubt that he would try. But I mean, if we are so far, I mean, let's put it this way: if we are in a position where we are forced to do that, we've already lost the clash of civilizations. It's already over. If we're that besieged that we need, as a practical matter of security necessity, to create a Muslim tracking database, it's already over. We're already overrun. You know, 65% of those surveyed, and again, this is overall, everybody, all respondents, said that there would be race riots in major cities during a Trump administration. Well, there are already race riots in Charlotte, North Carolina, so. And 44% believe Trump would authorize concentration camps for illegal aliens. Now, understand, folks, a lot of this stuff, I mean, using nukes to attack ISIS, that would be a commander-in-chief decision. But misusing the power of the presidency to punish his political opponents, yeah, he'd absolutely do that. And creating a database, authorize internment camps, that would require Congress's cooperation. I really doubt he'd get it. Which raises the question of, would Trump supporters then be A-okay with Trump using his pen and his phone and his putter? We can't wait. Everything that they used to, and rightfully so, justifiably so, condemn Barack Obama for doing, the imperial presidency? Would they then be would they think that was, yeah! Would they support that when they rightfully opposed it when Barack Obama did it? I think some of these Trumplicans would. I don't think they'd give a rat's ass about the values they used to claim to hold. I don't think they give a rat's ass about the United States Constitution, and I really hope that Doug Gibbs is not included in that group. To them, it's all tribalism. It's all white. It may well be white versus black. That's what this has degenerated into. Rather than principled opposition to leftism and all the various insidious and nefarious tactics that the left under Barack Obama has used to divide the American people, to flock after Trump and embrace tribalism and embrace idolatry and personality cults in turn. That's why I say Trumplicans who have embraced Donald Trump have given up. They've said, along with Yosemite Sam, if you can't beat them, join them. But a lot of this would require Congress to do legally. I don't think that would happen, in which case, do Trumplicans urge Trump to be a dictator? Or do they realize that Trump made them a bunch of BS promises that he couldn't keep? He just told them what they wanted to hear to get elected. After which, in practice anyway, he'll be making deals with Democrats. So on those grounds alone, he would not be doing most of these things. But again, we're talking here not about what Donald Trump would actually do, speculations to that end. We're talking about what his supporters think that he wants to do, which means they want him to do these things, and they're voting for him anyway. In fact, that's why they're voting for him. Now, none of any of that, the first quote here from the polling results, the Survey Monkey survey, Department of Redundancy Department, that's of everybody. None of this seems far-fetched, given Trump's unstable, despotic manner while on the campaign trail. What may be a bit surprising, although it really isn't when you stop and think about it, is finding that of those who are supporting Trump, they share similar beliefs about their candidate. Among those who say they will vote for Trump, 48% say he'll create a database to track Muslims, which again, if it gets to that point where for the sake of security necessity, we're forced to do that, then we've already lost. I mean, the better idea is to keep any more from coming in. That's what we need to do. 36% say there will be race riots. But again, there already are race riots. They just get worse, is I think what that means. 33%, one-third, say the government would default on its debt, which is inevitable anyway. It's just a question of when, and Trump gives every indication that he would make it happen sooner than later, deliberately, because he's an idiot. And 32%, again, almost a third, say Trump would punish his political opponents and authorize internment or concentration camps for illegal aliens. Only 22%, almost 1 out of every 4 Trump supporters, believe he will start a nuclear war. Now, think about this for a minute. Those are large pluralities, folks. Large pluralities of Trump supporters who are going to vote for him and believe he would do these things. Doesn't it follow from that they want him to do these things, that these things are why they're supporting him and going to vote for him? Isn't that the logic of this? I mean, you can go a lot of ways with this survey, but I would point out several things. What is going on in the heads of those 32%, almost 1 out of every 3 Trump supporters, who believe he would punish political opponents and put illegal aliens in concentration camps, or even worse, the almost 1 out of every 4 Trump supporters that believe he will start a nuclear war? And they're still voting for him, which suggests they want him to start a nuclear war. Somehow believing it wouldn't be turned back on us. Somehow believing that it would not escalate into World War III with the Russians. I mean, these people, how do you describe these people? They're not American in spirit. I mean, this sounds Nazi-esque, or pick your totalitarian ideology. It sounds nuts. It's crazy. It's un-American. It's insane. They want him to do insane things. At least they're coming right out and saying it. Not hiding behind, well, we gotta stop Hillary! Hey, if these people want Donald Trump to start a nuclear war, if these people want Donald Trump to punish his political opponents, and would they be going to camps too? Am I going to get a knock on my door here sometime in November or December if Trump wins? Probably not, because I'm too insignificant. Or at least it would take a Trump regime a long time to work its way all the way down to me. I haven't made myself inconspicuous, I will say that. I'm no threat to Trump. I just say what I think about him. And someone like Trump cannot abide that. I mean, these are people who want this. They're voting for Trump to get this. Punish their enemies. Remember when Barack Obama said that in 2010? Right before the 2010 midterm elections? Help our friends or reward our friends and punish our enemies. Well, apparently, Trumplicans didn't think that was a bad thing in and of itself. They only thought it was bad because Barack Obama was doing it. If their demigod, if their hero is doing it, yeah, we support that. Tribalism is un-American, ladies and gentlemen. Have the American people really become that tribalistic, that primitive? Because, I mean, if this is really the case, is there anything left of America? I mean, this is why the Founding Fathers didn't trust democracy. That's why the Founding Fathers wrote the Constitution the way they did, with checks and balances. Every institution, every group, checked, limited, held down by every other. People were represented by the House of Representatives. The states were represented by the Senate. The government checked the people checked the government, the government checked the states checked the states checked the people. Within the federal government, the judiciary checked the executive checked the Congress checked the executive, Congress checked the Supreme Court. I mean, no one area, no one faction, no one group was supposed to be able to accumulate too much power. That's why America has lasted, the American Republic lasted as long as it did. It died 4 years ago. This is the redundant proof. This is the redundant proof. 1 out of every 4 Trump supporters are voting for him because they believe he will start a nuclear war, which means that they want him to. 1/3 of his supporters believe he would punish political opponents and put illegal aliens and maybe his political opponents in camps as well. They want him to do this. That's why they're voting for him. Trust me, the responses I've gotten from Trump supporters, I can easily believe that with this result. 1/3 of Trump supporters, 1 out of every 3, according to this survey, if this is accurate, and I have no reason to suppose it isn't, believe that Trump will default on the debt, which means they want him to. That's why they're voting for him. I mean, what it comes down to is that 1/4 to 1/3 of Trump's supporters want Donald Trump to destroy the country. Or to do things that they think, to do things that they don't realize would get the country destroyed. I mean, if the United States defaults on its debt, the economy collapses globally and nationally. If Donald Trump nukes ISIS, he's setting off World War III. And that would not be good for us. And either Trump supporters are insane, they are, again, pick your totalitarian ideology, Nazis, fascists, whatever, or they are just that batshit stupid. It's probably some combination of all three. But then the question comes around. The question comes back around, my friends, to the 2/3 of Trump supporters who don't believe that he would do these things. You think Trump's a good guy, or you think that he can be reformed or educated, or he can be led to the side of the light or whatever. And if you are, you're naive fools. But that's not the point. That's not the question I want to ask you 2/3 of Trump supporters who apparently aren't batshit crazy or monsters. If you think that all these tyrannical horrors that I just set out for you would be bad things, and from these poll results, you would think they were bad and wouldn't support them, don't think Trump will do them, I gotta tell you, quite a few of your fellow Trump partisans disagree with you. In which case, the question I have for you roughly 2/3 of Trump supporters who don't believe that Donald Trump would destroy the country and the world, and again, you're naive, but and don't want him to do these things. Why are you standing with the Trump supporters who do think that Donald Trump is going to default on the national debt, who do think that Donald Trump is going to put his political opponents and illegal aliens in concentration camps, who do think that Donald Trump will start a nuclear war, and they're clearly voting for him because they believe he will do these things. That's why they're supporting him. Why are you standing with these people? Sane Trumplicans, for lack of a better way to put it. Why are you still with these people? Why don't you purge these people from your movement? Why don't you purge these people from the ranks of Trump supporters? Why do you tolerate them? I mean, surely defeating Hillary Clinton can't be worth empowering them. I mean, you could make the argument that they are the least deluded of Trump supporters. The rest of you are all totally deluded, or whether by fear or fratricide, or your former fratricidal impulses, which of course have been, you don't even realize that you've joined with the GOP establishment. You people are on the same side as the GOP establishment now, because what did they do? They fell in line behind Trump, didn't they? All the cockroaches back in Washington that you've been crapping on and criticizing and lambasting and blasting and eviscerating and trashing for years because they weren't fighting for conservative principles and they were caving into the Democrats and blah, 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 blah. Well, they're on the same side as you people. You joined the establishment, Trump supporters. How does that feel? Because they haven't supported, or they haven't changed. They're still the same. They're supporting Trump. They sold out just like you did. Do you even realize that? I tell you, if Trump were to get elected, it'd be gallows humor like you could not believe, because a lot of you Trump supporters, if your guy wins, you are going to be the ones that are most disappointed with what he does do, assuming he doesn't do any of this crazy stuff that 1/3 of your movement wants him to do. You're going to be so disappointed, you're going to be outraged, you're going to be disillusioned. And in that situation, if that were to happen, guess who would be there to say, "We told you so"? That's right, never Trump. But again, why do you tolerate these people? Why do you tolerate the 1/3 of your movement, if you want to call it that that believe that Donald Trump will do these terrible things and want him to do so, because why else would they be voting for him? Why do you tolerate those people? Why don't you purge them from your movement? I mean, surely defeating Mrs. Clinton can't be worth empowering them, and they would be more empowered than you would be. I guarantee you that. Especially if they're right about your candidate. I mean, have you considered that? What if they're right about Trump? You don't think Trump will do any of those terrible things. What if you're wrong and they're right? I mean, you're the ones who keep going on and on about, well, there's a chance that Trump could be better. There's a chance that Trump could be a good president. Well, by that same logic, isn't there a chance that Trump will be everything that this third of your movement thinks he'll be? A Hitlerite dictator? That's what they're looking for. Isn't there a chance that they're right and you're wrong? In which case, do you realize what you're doing? Do you realize what you're taking a chance on? Do you realize what you're about to vote for? Or is being slaves on the winning side worth it to you? I mean, I knew the Democrats. I know for a long time that the Democrats are this tribalistic. That's no secret at all, you know. But are that many Republicans that far gone? Really? That's what this poll seems to indicate. I mean, these people are moving among us. These are people who put such a slight premium on human life that they would support a man they believe would put illegal aliens in camps, and furthermore would seek to punish his political opponents. Would the political opponents end up in camps as well? You think that's a good idea, Trump supporters? Well, a third of you do, according to this poll. And again, at even 22%, that's still almost 1 in 4 Trump supporters who support a man they believe would start a nuclear war, which means that's why they're voting for him, because they want a nuclear war. Now, whether he would do it or not is irrelevant to this point. The gut-wrenching dread we should all be feeling is that there are people out there that believe he would, and they support him, which means they want him and to do these things and believe that he would do these things. Well, you're known by the company you keep, Trumplicans. And this is the company you're keeping. Congratulations. You're welcome to it.